All right, so we're starting off with the first presentation. We are going to introduce the WordPress hackathon, the Cairo system, as well as some things about Nixor Corporate in general. So what you guys can expect from this hackathon is that it's not, it's more focused towards your learning instead of it being some sort of competition. You'll start by learning the fundamentals of the web and then understanding WordPress, how it works, how you can use WordPress to publish content-driven websites, and other practical techniques such as plugins and designing stuff and modern web development tools and workflows that are used in real life institutions and organizations. You can read through this slide. Moving on, for this entire program, we will be using a TA sign-off platform. What that essentially means is that during all the practical sessions, after you do an exercise, you will show your work and understanding to a TA, and they will come to you, they will check your understanding. And for this purpose, there's a platform to monitor your progress and to manage any queuing and stuff. And you can also ask any questions from these TAs. Important note, these are different from academic TAs. These are specific TAs, and these are mostly going to be CIOs and MITs from entities. And the practical sessions themselves, of course, it's highly recommended you attend all of them, but they are not mandatory to attend or during the entire duration, especially if you're done with your exercises for the day. But we have structured it in such a way that each day you have to do one entire topic. But again, all the lectures are mandatory to attend. Some important emails. You will probably get the fastest reply from my email instead of messaging me on Discord privately. If you drop a message on the Discord server or on my email, I will get back to you as soon as possible. And make sure you CC the BOD email in whatever email you write. Right, so these are a few links that are important. Of course, there's the Discord server, there's WordPress.com, where you will be actually creating your websites, and then there's the hackathon manual and the TA sign-off platform. These links will be shared with you shortly after this session, as well as the slides. Right, are there any queries so far regarding the hackathon structure itself? No? Okay. If there are, you can of course ask at the end of this lecture. So moving on to Nixor Corporate itself. So how many of you are volunteers in entities? Okay, so quite a lot. So for those of you who aren't, basically Nixor Corporate entities, they have IT departments. Each entity has its own IT department, and they mainly manage the website of the entity, as well as they look into any IT services or IT automations of the entity. The reason this program we are doing is to develop your skills even further, so you can move on to bigger things like implementing AI based workflows, not Gen AI, more like your own AI. How many of you were in Regatta AI auction as CIOs? I mean, did you participate in it? Of course, okay. So this program is very similar to that. So in the IT department, there's three main people. You have the CIO, who reports to the CEO, and the MIT, who reports to the CIO, and finally IT volunteers. And this is a kind of training that we are going to have here will help you a lot with your application as well for becoming executives at entities. Right, so these are the different roles of the IT members. there's not much to say other than they manage mostly the websites and any other technological things related to the entity. These are some essential skill sets. A lot of this is are mainly things I think I've already said. But the main thing is innovation, because some of you may have noticed that entities, IT departments sometimes only try to focus on the website of the entity itself and nothing else. So innovation is a key factor in developing your future entities if you plan on applying to IT positions, IT departments, and making a very strong IT department. Many of you know about NLX Eats. That's also done through their IT department. They're the ones who made that whole platform and are running it, managing it on a daily basis. So there's lots of cool things you guys can make in entities. These are some important things that go into the IT departments. And SEO optimization is also one of their big roles in promoting their websites, making sure, for example, if someone searches up NLX Eats, it's on the very top, and their users don't have to scroll all the way on Google to find their website. This was the first part of the session, just introducing the entire hackathon itself. Do you guys have any questions so far? Sure. Then we'll move on to the actual content for today, and we'll have a look at the Kairos platform as well. That's the TA sign-off platform. So today's lecture will focus on the fundamentals of web and WordPress. And these are basically the foundations that go into the WordPress ecosystem. So how many of you know what WordPress is actually? Can anyone tell? Website building platform. Yes. Okay, anyone else? Okay, WordPress is essentially a CMS based tool, that's content management system, where you manage content. Now we'll move on to this later as well, but it abstracts away from the more complex things that go into building a website. But if you don't know the actual fundamentals, how websites work and how static websites work, websites that you just code in HTML and CSS, not using platforms like WordPress, then you won't really understand what's happening in the background, how things are working, and that can quickly become a big problem, right? So our goal is not just to teach you guys how to use WordPress, but make sure you guys understand how WordPress actually works, what's happening in the background as well, right? So these are the main objectives for the entire hackathon, or for this part of the lecture for today. You'll start by learning how browsers communicate with web servers, the difference between static and dynamic websites, the purpose of a CMS, the core components of a WordPress website, and then how WordPress separates content from presentation. So, do any of you know how, if you type into your browser google.com or something else, how it actually connects with the website?
I think the IP address is sent to some web server. It
Yeah.
sends back the URL to the
Yeah.
web browser.
Yeah, that's right. So what happens is we'll get to DNS later. That you were talking about DNS, but what happens is your browser, it connects to a server, and that server is called a web server. It hosts the files like the .html files, the .css files for the website itself, and it sends back those files as a response to your browser, and then your browser, using its own engine, displays those files in a proper format. Right, and how it connects to the server is through a DNS lookup. So what DNS is domain name system. So as an example, google.com, if you type into your browser, it will first go to usually your ISP. Do you know what an ISP is? Yeah, so it's your internet service provider. Usually it goes over there. For example, PTCL, it will go to their servers. It will ask what's the IP for google.com, because computers don't work with letters, they work just with IPs. IPs are just a short series of numbers, and this is the actual location of the web server. Alright, so it translates this domain into the IP, and it sends back to your browser. Then your browser can connect to that server through your internet provider, and then of course it sends back the files and everything else. Okay, so moving on, the difference between a static content website and a dynamic website. So a static website is something like you have an HTML file that describes the structure of the website, right? And that your browser gets, and then it just displays that, right? But for a dynamic content tool like WordPress, what happens is that it takes in some information that, and then makes an HTML file on the go. So what that means is it gets some data from a database, it gets some code, and it gets some files like images and stuff, and then it compiles all that into one single piece of HTML page that your browser then shows you. So it's like having a personal assistant write a customized report. And why this is very useful is because over here, if you using a CMS like WordPress, if you change a single image, you don't have to go through all the code and then find all the places where that image exists. You can directly go through WordPress if you've used it before, and then change the image from there. And then it just updates it over here, and then you don't ever have to mess with the HTML code. Is that clear up till now? Okay. Yeah, so that's the power of dynamic content, that it's dynamic. It can change at any time. This can also not just include images, this includes server-side code, databases, content logic, user permissions, and presentation templates. And if you instead have a simple website, then you'd have to change everything on your own, and it can get quite complex very fast. And the solution to that is a CMS. So the role WordPress itself plays in here, it's essentially a CMS engine. So when you go to a website builder like WordPress, it shows you a very nice like drag and drop features where you can drag and drop images and stuff like that. But when you go to look at the actual code that's being written, that is not HTML or that is not CSS. I mean, of course, there's CSS and the HTML exists, but it's not stored as a .html file. It's stored primarily in the database. So in the database, you'll find different, for example, posts or pages and their content. And the code exists and the content exists separately. And a CMS engine like WordPress then compiles all that stuff into one HTML page. And that just helps you focus on the actual content of a website. And this is very powerful for blog-based websites or stuff like that, entity websites if you've ever seen. It's very powerful for that because you don't have to focus on the actual code. You can just focus on changing the content, uploading blogs or posts, and making new pages. So the philosophy for WordPress is you separate what you show and how you show it. So what we mean by that is the text, the images, any videos, they exist on the database, but for example, the actual format of the website, the colors, the fonts, the text, I don't know, a color or whatever, exists in a theme, which is called the presentation. So this is the content and this is the presentation, and how the content is displayed is controlled by your presentation or your theme. And these two combine to give you the final product. So this, if you go to WordPress, this is how it will usually look like. Over here under your home, you have posts, pages, media, and pages again apparently. And over here under appearance, you can create custom menus as well. So what posts are? They are essentially like blog posts. Do you guys know what blog posts are? Yeah. If you go to a website like a news website, they have daily news, right? So each news on each day exists as a separate blog. And pages are something like the home page or the contact page, stuff that doesn't change, right? Posts are stuff that you get a new post like every day or multiple times a day or even weekly or whatever. And media is just images and stuff, and then menu is the actual navigation bar that you can see. Is everything clear up till now? Okay. So that was all the content for today that we're going to apply in some exercises. I'm just going to explain the exercises and see if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, in the practical session, you'll then, or even just after right now, you can start working on the actual exercises. And then in the practical session, you'll show your code and your another code, your like diagrams or whatever you have to do to the DAs, and they'll make sure that you understand what you're doing. So the first exercise is to trace the complete life cycle that a browser makes to WordPress websites. So this includes the DNS lookup, the server request, what WordPress does, how the theme comes in, and then the final response that's sent back to the browser to display. Any questions for this one? Okay. Your second exercise is if you go to WordPress.com, over there you can create a new website, and then you have to create a new page, a new post, and upload at least one media file. This can be an image or a video, and create some sort of navigation menu and add that to your page. I would recommend that you add at least like 2 pages or 3 or whatever, so that you can test out your navigation menu more accurately. And this again you'll show to the DAs, and they'll check your understanding. Any questions for this one? Okay. And then the final, there are more exercises or things in the actual manual, but these are like stuff you have to do and show to the DAs. And the final is a reflection. This is again to check your understanding how WordPress separates content from design, what is content and what is design, and how this separation is useful for collaboration and maintenance. So you guys can think if you have another developer working on this website as well, how does that improve collaboration using a CMS like WordPress instead of a static website, and how this can help for maintenance stuff. For example, if you want to change your design of the website, you want to change some colors, how does WordPress help you without losing your posts and pages? And how does this separation make that possible? And I think that's it. Any questions for this one? Okay. And any questions overall as well, or is it all clear?
We're going to be using WordPress.org, right? Yeah, .com is very different.
Abubakar.com is the one where you can create free websites, right? Yeah, .com. So on the difference between WordPress.com and .org is that WordPress.org is the actual WordPress software, and then WordPress.com lets you create free or paid WordPress websites. It uses the WordPress software to create you WordPress websites. So it's kind of like a hosting.
Won't they need local WP for that? So we post there.
You can work on local WP, but it's going to be easier for us to review as well. Because at the end of this, you will be submitting your websites for review, and it's going to be easier to see it on not on localhost but on WordPress.com. So I'll just go through the actual TA sign-off platform as well. You will get enrolled into the courses soon, but before that, what you have to do is you have to come to this website and you have to log in with using your Nixor ID at least once. That way you're registered on the platform, then we can enroll you into the courses so you can access the rest of the actual things. So it's pretty simple. You just log in through your Nixor email if the internet works. Yeah, so from here you can select your Nixor ID and then it will log you in. Yep. Over here, right now you won't see any courses, but once we enroll you into the courses, you will see over here the WordPress hackathon. So this is from the AI auction. I can show you how it looks like. Once you open a course, over here you can see your current progress that you've made, and then you can see open rooms. So if we ever need to split across campuses or across different rooms, you will select that room, but it's just going to be one room that you'll join. So for example, if you join through here, you will see different queues. It's not going to be per TA for this one. It's going to be like questions or sign off for this exercise, and then you can join these queues, and then once a TA calls you, it will show you a notification and will give you a pop-up that a TA is now able to serve you or whatever, and then you can call them out or raise your hand to indicate that's you. Any questions on this? Okay, and that's all you guys really need to know for this platform. It's better to use on laptop for now, but if you guys have any suggestions, like any problems with this platform, you can let me know. And have you guys all joined the Discord server? Please join it if you haven't already. We'll share all the important updates over there. Okay, other than that, you guys have any other questions? The schedule for the rest of the days will be shared with you hopefully by today or maybe tomorrow, but you can expect very similar timings. I think we'll shorten the duration for the lectures as well, because seeing as we're done within half an hour, so I guess we'll drop it down to 45 minutes or something. Right, and that's about it. You guys will receive all the presentation material and the manual shortly after this session. All right.